Hi, Reed. How you doing? Oh, you're on mute, but that's okay.
Oh, there I am.
There
Now
you
you can
go.
now you can hear me. How are you?
Good, good. Boy, what a kind of a funny day with the snow and then a little bit of blue sky and
Yeah,
back and forth.
switch glasses and oh, it's Terry.
Oh,
Now I can see.
oh, there you go. Two
Yep.
glasses. Wow.
Yeah, well, computer glasses and regular glasses.
Well, that's good.
Oh, look at the people in the meeting room.
Oh, yeah. Melinda's got them all lined up.
Atlanta.
Hmm.
I've thrown together a PowerPoint
Oh, good.
for my presentation tonight, which is not just the wording from the report I sent, but kind of to supplement it. So if I can have access to present that, that might help a little bit. So,
Okay, that would be Melinda. She's in charge
Okay.
of that.
all right.
So, yeah, that'd be great. So, yeah, and I sent out a link to your report. So that was
Yeah.
great. That's really nice. So, yeah, so the pond on the south side definitely is bigger than the other
Yes.
two.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that'll be fun. And every time we go look at the bobolinks, we go by there and Bruce McPherson's always looking for, ducks in the pond. And we had, I don't know, 9 or 12 wood ducks this season. So,
Really?
yeah.
They must have nested somewhere else because there's no evidence of them in the boxes.
Right. So they were larger by the time we saw them.
Oh, okay.
They
Okay.
must have come, but I guess the little ones can fly
After a little bit, yes.
at some point. Yeah. So I know Pat is going to be late because he's at another meeting. So we don't have to wait for him. I never know. I don't do that much Zoom, but I see myself and Reed and Melinda and Kim and Danielle, and I don't see anybody else yet, right? So I just sometimes there's many more people that I don't see on the screen. So
Carrie, there's an option on the upper right corner that says view. And if you click that, it gives you different view options that you can play around with. So that might be helpful.
So I have speaker and gallery. Those are and then it says exit full screen. So
yeah, so like speaker, you would just be seeing basically just like the big one of whomever's speaking at the time. Gallery would be all of them. Okay. But if there's too many, it'll bump it over into a second page of the gallery.
Oh, and there's the little arrow. Yeah. So okay, good. So let's see. So he said Pat's going to be late. Jeff's here. So I guess I think we can get going because I think, do we have enough people to get going?
Yeah, you have a quorum now. So
Sure. Okay. All right. So oh shoot, I forgot my
agenda.
So I guess here's another thing I don't have. It's what 7:30 or 5:32 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:32 for the Catamount Community Forest meeting on December 9th, 2021. And so we have the minutes, I guess, that are for November 18th that we can look over and approve.
Terry, can I just make a note that Hans is no longer our board president? Peter Woodson's our new board president, so I don't know if you want to update that on your minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you give me that name again?
Peter Woodson is our current board president. Hans is still on the board, but no longer in that seat.
Okay. Does Peter have any desire to come to these meetings?
I hope so.
I mean, it would be, official, I guess you're sort of unofficial members. It would be great if one of the board members can come.
Yeah, and just, on that end, we are starting a new committee structure with our board, and that we are looking at that as one of the parts of the committee, whether it's a board president or somebody else that's appropriate. So I'm glad you guys feel that way as well.
But yeah, it's good to have a voice from the board. So I guess the only thing, if you're, when you scroll through, the only thing that I saw on the minutes was, the discussion that we had about the bridges. I guess, Melinda, we were back and forth with Ethan a bit, and between Kim and you and I, that the bridges wouldn't be, there's no bridges that are going to be affected by the logging in 23, this next year, right?
Correct.
So, right, so that whole part of the minutes, that'll be, we wouldn't have to worry about postponing working on doing those bridges. And then the only thing I saw is on page 2, there was, it said, instead of the list, it says lit. So if you scroll down the minutes, or am I
Okay.
not seeing it, or are
On
you?
page 2?
2, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm not seeing, I'm just seeing the first page.
Oh, okay. That's weird. I'm on
Maybe-
the second page.
Okay, so what am I not seeing? So is everybody else seeing that? Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we just-
Terry, where are you exactly?
So we're doing the minutes, approval
Right.
of the minutes, but I'm not seeing, I'm just seeing the first page. And I'm not seeing.
That's all I see as well.
Yeah,
Really?
So,
Oh.
yeah, so we're, okay, good. So it's not me.
Oh, I wonder if something froze up. Let me try to stop the share and reshare again. See if that works.
Oh, there's Pat. Welcome, Pat. Meeting after meeting, huh?
Do
So
people,
it's the first page, and then there's on the top, the bar has all those options, but it's not scrolling.
it's not scrolling, still not scrolling.
Is that for
Okay.
everybody else?
Yeah, no, it's not moving for me.
All right. Well, I'm sorry about that. I think people, if you guys can look at the minutes on your own computers, that would be helpful. I don't
Yeah.
really know what I can do about this, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, so the only thing that I saw was that page 2, paragraph 2,
Mhm.
halfway down the page, it says something about the bridges, and then should say the list should be updated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the only little thing that I saw. Everything else looked good.
Okay.
So if folks can let us know when they've finished reading the minutes.
Let me try that again. Oh, maybe it's this
I
one.
actually read the minutes before the meeting today. Woohoo! So I make
Yeah.
a motion to accept the minutes. It looks good to me.
Okay.
Great, thank you. And is there a second?
Jeff will second.
Okay, great. So all those in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? and sound none are. So the minutes are approved as written, or, I mean, that one little amendment that doesn't really, does that
As-
count, Melinda?
As you can say as amended, that's
As
fine.
amended. Okay, great. For the one little letter. So, okay, great. So next up is the Reed had done an assessment, site assessment on the duck nesting boxes at the pond over at Catamount. And he actually has a PowerPoint that he'd like to share.
Okay, so
No.
stop here.
Melinda's gonna,
So, how do I share my screen, Melinda? Oh, hit share screen.
Yeah, at the bottom, and then it'll give you
Okay,
some
good,
options.
good. Yep, all right. And share that one. And see if this will come up. Does everybody see a presentation that says duck nesting assessment?
Yes.
So rather than just read all the bullet points of the other one, basically, my brother-in-law, who has been doing duck nesting care at a variety of sites, and I went out to the pond and looked at the 3 existing boxes, which were out there, and they've been there a long time. They're probably made out of some ancient barn board and are quite incredible that there's 12-inch lumber out there, but they should be replaced. We looked at the size of the pond itself and think that that little pond on the south side probably can only support 2 boxes. You could put 3, but you probably wouldn't get 3 nesting pairs out there at best. So probably get 2 at best. So we, fortunately, my brother-in-law has some materials already, and we can build boxes. They'll be a little bit smaller. Instead of 12-inch on the side, they'll be 10 by 10, but fit the same type of structure. And we're hoping that we can use the 2 steel poles that are out there, although we'd like to move them closer to the ponds themselves. The undergrowth there, as you can see in this opening picture, is extremely thick. And when those little ducklings jump out of the boxes, there's a chance they could just get buried in there as they try and make their way to the water. So we think that we would, put boxes closer to the site. The other 2 ponds, just viewing the maps, are smaller and probably wouldn't support more than 1 box. So we would build similar boxes out there. Overall, I think it's a good site to try and work on. What I've done with this is just throw out some pictures in working with my brother-in-law in the sites he manages. Basically, you're attracting wood ducks, which is in the top right, the black-bellied whistling ducks in the lower left, and then mergansers. And we've seen all 3 of these types come through on Round Pond, which is up adjacent to Lake Champlain up in by Sandbar. And there's a lot of duck activity. That's about a 50-acre pond, so considerably bigger than what we're looking at Catamount. Some of the things that I've did a little reading, with the wood ducks, adding boxes has the benefit, if we're looking at this from a conservation perspective, that 44%, on a national basis, or in the northern flyway areas, 44% of the wood duck pairs will prefer to use a nesting box to natural areas like hollow trees, stumps, etc. And that provides with a tremendous amount of protection for the eggs and the ducklings from predators, because there's all kinds of things that would just love to eat them up, and therefore increases the likelihood of survival. One of the things that we've observed is that the 3 types of ducks I showed you will gladly lay all their eggs in the same box and leave for the poor wood ducks to take responsibility for all of them. My brother-in-law saw 20 eggs of different types in one box last year. And when he went back in late spring, all had hatched, all the ducklings were gone. So at least they had made it out. So the mother wood duck had been very, very conscientious. But that leads to a question for us, if we want to do this, is do we want to encourage one species or all types? And wood ducks tend to nest later than whistling and mergansers do. And you can fool the ducks by covering the hole and wait for the wood ducks to show up. And then, and I think probably the consequence of that on these smaller ponds is you'll probably end up with no ducks nesting. Because it can take a year or so once you've set up boxes as the ducks fly over to say, oh, look, there's a nesting box, let's go use it. And so we could actually build them this year and not get anything. So on a bigger pond, you might say, let's block some of the holes and not use them and try and encourage only the wood ducks. But my preference is to just let any kind of duck that comes along nest there. So the recommendation to tie in with the written document is really to replace the existing boxes with 2 new ones and put them near the pond, as I mentioned. Install 1 box on each of the northern ponds and let any duck that comes along nest in it. And look into the possibility of installing a remote camera, which again, we've used up in Round Pond and gotten some pretty interesting sighting, including an owl sitting on top of a box one day. So, and then assess it throughout this next spring and see what happens. So hopefully we can get boxes installed this winter. And from an educational perspective, because that's something that we've discussed in other meetings, the older boxes are not in such bad shape that you couldn't keep them and maybe do a cross-section cut in them. And as you bring in students, school-age kids for educational purposes into Catamount, you could actually put one near the hub area with some signage on it to show, what a duck box looks like on the inside, what kind of nesting material we put in, and tell them what we're doing. So overall, I think it's a reasonable effort to put these boxes up, and I'd like to go forward with it. Any questions?
Thank you, Reed. That was a wonderful presentation. That all sounds great.
And it's set a pretty high bar there.
Do you want, hey Reed, can you stop sharing now?
Yes, I suppose I could.
And I love the idea of using the boxes for educational stuff, even if we could get one like mounted out by the hub with some sort of interpretive sign about what that is and where they're located now.
Right, because they're old, but they're not rotten. So they're certainly, we could keep one of them or more, So one of them is in pretty bad shape, but the other 2 are pretty good.
Good. I think Jim would appreciate that, to have it as an educational piece, like a historical. Because I'm sure he built them.
Reed, you probably took them off the old barn.
Yeah, some time ago. They've been there a while. At least one of them is actually mounted on a fence post that looks to be about 50 years old. So.
Yeah. Reed, in your notes, you said it didn't look like there had been any nesting pairs this past year. Does anybody know, did anybody keep track over the last 10 years whether there's been any ducks nesting there at all?
I'm pretty sure Carl Runge and Bruce McPherson from Green Mountain Audubon.
Yeah.
They do. They actually, every time we go over there, they say, there was a kestrel that used that wood duck box one year. So that was one year that they're.
Yeah, the nesting material didn't look really, really old. So somebody has changed it at some point. I don't know if it was this spring or not, but
It's Jim. Jim and Lucy
yeah,
do it every year. Yeah.
okay, okay. And the only thing we found nesting in it was a little mouse, a little field mouse had pulled in a pile of milkweed and built a nest in there. So that's the only thing that was in there now. But there was no evidence of any eggs this year at all.
Okay.
So
Right.
Just curious.
Yeah,
Um,
so, you know, the same with the Bluebird boxes, when I put those up, you know, the first year, not every single box had activity. It took a year or more for the activity. They seem to like seasoned boxes. Seems odd, but, and we had mice in some of the boxes too, so.
right, right.
And would they have predator guards? Does
No,
that
there really isn't a predator. I mean, the size of the hole is
Sure.
is an oblong hole, which is designed for ducks, the adult ducks to go through. It is deep enough that raccoons can't reach in. It doesn't stop other kinds of predators from going in there. You know, there's no real way to do that and without affecting the ducks, the adult ducks themselves. I mean, they're pretty big after all, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not like a Bluebird box where you have a small hole, which prevents a lot of things
Right.
from getting in.
That's true. So
Um,
would you, the funding, you have the wood, but you would need funding for poles
Well,
and
Well,
hardware?
the two poles that are there, if we can pull them out and move them, I know the ground is getting frozen now, so we're gonna have to see what does that mean. My brother-in-law Bill had said, you know, he's got an auger that could drill a hole, but we'd have to assess how do we get, you know, can we, you know, get into the ground? I'm sure the ground isn't frozen very deep right now, which is good, which means with some tugging, we may be able to pull those two poles out and get going on it, because he, you know, he'd like to do it reasonably soon, probably in the next month, I would say.
Right, because.
Yeah, because there's no duck
That's so early, yeah.
Yeah, there's no duck activity now, but they come in, some of the species come in surprisingly early. What we've walked out onto, well, a couple years ago, we walked across Lake Champlain to get to Round Pond, and we just, you know, pulled a sled behind us to get our equipment out there. So it was early enough that the ice was solid out there.
Right, oh, okay. So do you have an idea of how much funding you would need, or were you going to?
I'd have to talk to Bill to see, you know, I know he said he's got enough lumber and, you know, screws and hinges and things like that at his house already. He lives in the town of Washington in Orange County. And I'll just plan some day and go up and work with him, and we'll build some boxes, you know, so
Great.
I don't have a cost yet, but he wanted to see, you know, are we going to go ahead with this, and then we can figure out what it's going to take.
Okay, so Melinda,
And-
would there be some monies available for, you know, through funding, maybe, you know, the operating budget for educational things, or what would?
Oh,
this
sure.
Melinda-
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure that we have some money in there. I feel like we haven't really spent that much money this year, so.
Okay, good, because it would probably
Okay.
be under a couple $100 or whatever, but then
Oh,
if you
yeah,
decided
yeah.
to do the other two boxes at the other two
That-
ones.
Yeah,
would-
well, still, he's got the lumber to do that. So that's, you know, it's that, and then those we would need poles.
Right.
You know, ideally you use the kind of poles that you see on the side of the road for signage.
Yeah.
Oh, the
But those
metal
are,
ones.
yeah, but those
Yeah.
are, you know, I'm not sure what those cost. No.
I actually
How-
have two large metal pipes from my hoop house. So I could donate those. I don't have them anymore and don't need them. So,
I'll ask him what it takes.
Yeah, and how
'Cause
long they
I-
have to be.
Right. I
Yeah.
never was part of the construction. I've just been part of the winter and spring observations with him. So
okay.
Mhm.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Great. okay,
Yeah,
so-
maybe Reed, if you want to put together a list of materials or just a cost estimate, that would be helpful. And then I can
Yeah, no,
check the
so
budget.
I'll get hold of Bill tomorrow. We're both retired, so we'll find each other. So,
All right, cool.
That's great. All right, great. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for putting that together. I've been
Okay.
looking at those duck boxes for years.
yeah.
I just have never done anything with them before, so.
Mhm.
Great. Okay, and we don't need to make a motion or anything like that or vote on anything with that, so.
I mean,
So I
just if you want to just, if you want to just do a straw poll or just like if if everybody.
Okay, so
Yes.
just to get an idea, who would be in favor of having wood duck boxes? Say aye. Motion. Great. All right, good. Thank you. So wonderful. So just let us know when you're,
Okay. Yeah,
When
no,
you're-
we'll pull that together pretty quickly.
great. And just, connect with Kim and Catamount Outdoor Family Center just to let them know you're going to be over there working, and that would be
Mhm.
helpful. So.
Yeah.
Great.
And Reed, I would say for the next 10 days, if you can get in there and pull them then. I mean, the water table is about a ½ inch below the surface right now and nothing's frozen. So it's really soft.
Yeah,
So this would be the-
Yeah,
We've got
we
like
were,
a 10-day forecast of it going to be like that starting Friday night. So
And it's in the
Yeah.
40s for the next week almost. So you've got a
Exactly.
window of some pretty
Mhm.
yeah.
warm temperatures.
yeah, we went in there with barn boots on to stay above the water. So,
Good. Great.
Does that mean that the trails are still closed?
Yeah, they are. I can get into that with the update, but yes, absolutely.
I was surprised when we went in there, just how deep the snow was. It was
Oh, with the
amazing.
picture on
Yeah,
your-
yeah. There was 6 or 8 inches of snow out there in the field.
We lost it really quick.
Yes.
Not enough to groom, huh?
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even close.
Okay, well, so I guess we can move on to the next topic, which would be the sheep barn. So, I just thought we should start talking about that because it's it's going to be a long-term project, I think, spanning over a few years possibly. So I know that we had approved $1,000 for the cable, right, Melinda?
Yeah, I got in touch with Elliot Lathrop and he said he could put in the cable, I don't know, in the next month or so. So I guess he's gonna get in touch with me when he gets ready to do that. And then obviously I'll have to coordinate with the outdoor center. I think that just involves getting into the upstairs and putting the cable across there in the upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What does that involve? Do we need to move stuff out or is it pretty simple, you think?
I think it's pretty simple, but I'll double check with him and just let you know.
Yeah, the upstairs is super easy to get to. So
Yeah.
Good, great. So I guess, just, some information, I think there's for the fiscal year 2023, is there $10,000 that has been put into the budget for the sheep barn?
No,
Oh, okay. Oh,
I think, I think that there's going to be there's various budget constraints. So I think that's really kind of at the bottom of the list. And I kind of said to Eric that that's a pretty low priority. But I would recommend that you start to have discussions about possible, possible uses for the barn and what, just sort of get an idea about whether there's any way to use that structure besides what it's currently being used for. And that will kind of dictate how much money we spend on it. And I think that those discussions can happen without spending money on it to start with. And then,
just have a
vision.
vision.
Yeah, vision.
So I know I just briefly looked into the barn grant through Vermont, and you know, their offer is the maximum of $15,000 with matching funds from the town. I think I got
Mhm.
that right. And one of the stipulations, I think you had that in the minutes, is that the barn can't be moved.
So,
It needs
so
to
Terry,
stay.
where did you actually find that? Because I also looked at the barn grant program and I didn't see anything about not moving, not being allowed to move a structure.
It was tucked in there somewhere. And then I thought the barn on South Road with the red roof, they had got denied funding because they had moved it. And
Oh.
also, well, I don't know, the materials were, maybe it was the materials, but I thought it was the fact that they moved it, but I'll have to take another look. So it could be a possibility, but I think to move that barn would, this is in my opinion, just looking at it, would take a lot of money. And I don't know. I mean, that's why we're having the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, the question is, what does the committee, what does Catamount Outdoor Family Center want that barn to be used as? And I know, Melinda, you brought up if there's any public access that you have to have a handicapped, like for upstairs, you would need to
Well,
have handicap.
Yeah, so if it's going to be a building that's open to the public, it has to be handicapped accessible. And so that, you know, that kind of puts a limit on, you know, what kind of public space it can be. Sort of limits it to having public space downstairs, which right now, as I understand it, that space is being used to store vehicle, you know, like groomers and equipment and stuff like that. So it's
Right.
just something to keep in mind. You know, unless you have like an elevator or something for the second floor, but that doesn't
Yeah.
really seem realistic.
I think
Yeah.
that's
can't even-
happening, yeah.
We're not even doing that for the town hall annex building. So
Right.
you know, that's
So, yeah, I think that's, you know, sort of why you know, we just need to, you know, brainstorm and just say, okay, what will the use? Will it just be storage? And will it just stay there? And is that the function that barn will, its purpose? So I just wanted to get an idea from everyone, you know, what they envision seeing the barn, what role it would play at Catamount. So does anybody have any, looking through the barn assessment, and do folks have any thoughts one way or the other?
Well, Terry, since you know we use it, I'll jump in there just to speak from Catamount's perspective. As Melinda said, yeah, we use it for the equipment, you know, the ATV, the 2 sleds, the lawnmower, and just work tools. And the McCulloughs still have stuff stored in there. Jim has moved a large portion of it out just over the last few weeks, and he'll be slowly pulling all the rest of it out too. And it opens up some space, but you know, even the work on in there, like I'm vertically challenged. Like I don't have to duck for the beams, but anyone that's got a few more inches on me has to be really, really careful in that building. So like public access would really scare me. Like I don't even want volunteers going in there, you know, to get trail tools. Like we bring stuff out of the barn. I mean, so Catamount's needs really are just some sort of like storage structure, as mentioned. You know, the ideal footprint, you know, like a 20 by 20 foot space. You know, the barn is huge and spread out, but so a lot of the space becomes not as usable because of the layout of the structure. But you know, yeah, we definitely rely on it for equipment storage.
do
Good.
you see, I just had a question, like, do you see any potential of using the upstairs as office space or anything like that?
I mean, my thoughts, like the idea to renovate it to the point where it could be office space. Again, I think we would be faced with some of the same constraints of making certain things accessible when it comes to an employment standpoint.
Yeah, true.
I think the money to make that barn more than what it is isn't the responsible place to put the funding from the town. As much as I hate to say it, because it is such an iconic piece on the property, it would take a lot. Yeah, and I don't think we could use it for office space from.
You know,
You had something, Reed?
oh yeah, I look at the barn and it's a neat old structure, but if you go all the way to making it, usable for public access and all the requirements, and then put an office in, you're probably talking about tens of thousands of dollars, and getting it
Oh, yeah.
heated, you'd be better spent, like your hub building, putting in a better second building that does something for you, that's new structure that might still have that rustic look to it, and then do some aesthetic work on the barn just to make it, besides holding it up with steel cables, do something to make it look a little better, because there's like a lot of barns, there's a lot of old patching on it that isn't very good. But I think it's, think about it, it was a sheep barn. It never was intended to be very much more than that. It's a storage barn, and it has its purpose as such.
So what was I thinking? Right, storage would be really the focus on it. I did talk to Ethan a little bit about, looking through the assessment that the Lathrop, Elliott Lathrop did. So the logging is going to be done in 2024. And so I asked Ethan if there was a possibility of, looking at this report and just kind of getting a general idea of what needs to be replaced, the timbers, sills, things like that. Would there be a possibility of harvesting that from the land and, getting either bringing it to the sawmill or getting a portable sawmill bought onto Catamount to mill out those pieces that we need to just basically make it safe, and usable as a storage area. And he said, yeah, that would be a great idea. There's plenty of wood out there, and that's the one, the barn grants like to see that wood is being sourced locally. And if it was right from the land, that would be even better. The boards on the side, you could get that milled out, pine or whatever's coming out. But yeah, my thought is just, it is a historical building, so we do have to do something. We're going to do the cabling, and it's historical, so it would be nice to have it as it's an educational piece, sort of like the wood duck boxes, and just have it there for people to see. That this is the way that they used to farm. These were the sheep barns, and the hay went in the top, and you could, have some educational things there, but not for the public to go into, because that's really, you run into all sorts of things. But yeah, and some, it would be nice to have, we're doing, the Catamount Community Forest is doing work on the invasives and things like that, and it would be nice to keep the tools there. So maybe segment off one section for that, the Catamount Community Forest to have for storage for tools and whatnot. But I don't know, does anybody else have thought?
Yeah, Terry, I guess everyone, I've got a question, I guess I would say. Having read this report, I felt like I was dealing with my house and my own barns.
Yeah.
When we moved in, we had posts that were holding our house up that were in dirt. I mean, so that's the way they built things, right? So that's but I think the one concern I have is that in addition to the steel rods that they're going to put through to sort of keep it in, the report talks about numerous holes in the roof. And I guess a question for Elliot would be, getting up there and slapping some roof tar, fix it stuff, anything to make it so that more water doesn't come in if in fact there's water. So Kim, I don't know if there's water that you see, if you've been up on the second level, sometimes it may not make it down to the first, but if his language was threatened by numerous holes on the roof, the sills are another issue, but I guess wanting to make sure that if better to do a little bit of prevention on the roof than have things get worse. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if the town of Williston has people who do that work, but it's just a question I have about what, I don't know what numerous holes mean, whether it's nails that have popped out or whether there's actual physical holes. I guess I could go up there and look from the ground and see what I can see.
Yeah, it is. It's an old metal roof and it's very rusty. I do know that. once, a long time ago, I lived in an old farmhouse with a similar looking metal roof. And I had it brushed with, I can't remember what it was, but it was this like thick sort of metally, like liquid metal
Yeah.
material. They brushed the roof with that. And
Roof
they
coating.
Yeah.
they scraped the rust off and then they brushed it on. And that was sort of a temporary, like, kind of watertightness fix. And
Right,
to
when I
prevent
moved
it.
in when I moved my house like 25 years ago, I did everything, the house, the barns and everything. Too old to get on the roof these days. But yeah, it's a thick sort of oatmeal type roof coating that's got
Yep.
some asphalt things in it. And it actually plugs up nail holes and some other things for quite a while. So I don't
Yeah.
know if the holes he's talking about are old nail holes or whether there's something even bigger than that.
Mhm.
Do you think you, Kim, could have one of your Grady, he's in and out of the barn a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't
could
use
take
the
a look.
upstairs too much, we could certainly go up and see what we can see from below,
Mhm.
but my
Maybe
guess
Mon-
is it's,
Monday.
I mean, I don't know of any like big gaping holes. Most
Okay.
likely, the metal might have been recycled from a different roof and it's got, I see that frequently. So.
So just, if we're gonna say it's an artifact and we're not gonna do a whole bunch to it, I guess I'm just concerned that if the report talked about some holes in the roof, that be just be looked at. Because I think that
Mhm.
an ounce of prevention can be really valuable 5 years down the road if in fact water keeps leaking in there.
Right.
Is that something that Elliot could do, or would that be hiring it out with someone else?
You mean like to actually look for the damage or to actually
They-
do?
No, to actually do the work
Oh.
on the roof.
I don't know. I could ask him.
There's
But
A+ roofing in town.
yeah, it might be more like what a roofing company could do. And
Yeah, I know we've had A+ roofing do some things for
A+.
us, and he's
Yeah.
right in town. So,
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up, Pat. I
Yeah.
kind of missed that, but the roof is, I mean, the foundation is very important too, but the roof is even more, that's.
Well, and the roof fix may not cost anywhere near as much as the foundation, because you're really just doing some roof
Yeah.
coating or some painting and patching some holes in it, for my guess is, well, I don't know what the labor would cost, but a 5-gallon can of that roof coating is about 60 or 70 bucks. So, a couple
Right.
cans will probably coat that.
So maybe Melinda, when you talk to Elliot about the cable, maybe, ask him how bad, it is and if he could do it, or if we should reach out to a roofing company.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
Yeah, a couple
Go ahead, Jay.
questions. Melinda, did I hear you correctly? Did the capital, the dollars that were in the capital budget get cut for as part of the budget process?
Nothing's, I guess, the dollars in the budget to do an assessment on the barn got cut because they're just it seems like it would be wise to have a discussion first. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to spend a lot of money to kind of help us figure out how we're going to use it. It seems like it makes more sense to kind of figure out how you want to use it, and then you may not even need that sort of more detailed assessment. Then maybe you could actually just start working on
Okay,
fixing some of these things.
okay. The town owns the barn, is that correct? That was part of the purchase? And this is just for my information. Does Catamount Outdoor Family Center, do they have use of it through the license agreement?
Yeah, I believe it's in the license agreement, and it does say that, I mean, I would have to check this, but it does say that they're responsible for the basically the barn's upkeep to the extent that they need that upkeep to continue the use that they're doing. So, I mean, I think what that means to me is that if they can get away without doing any work on it and keep the structure standing, then that's kind of what they're going to do to keep using it. But if the town wants to do any major restoration work, that's kind of,
The town's bailiwick. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I would like to, I agree with the concept of if we're going to have to do some minimum work on the barn to keep it standing. What I wish would happen in the work, the assessment we have is it doesn't prioritize. It doesn't say, hey, here are the most important things you need to do. And so I'm wondering if we can get that from the gentleman who did the report, Elliot, because it may be the roof, it may be the most important thing. He may come back and say, no, this beam here is ready to go. You really need to replace it first.
So, yeah, and to partially answer that question, I went back and reread some emails, an email exchange that he and I had, and I had asked him that question about what the priorities of these different segments were, and he said, "Oh yeah, that was in the order. I wrote it in order of priority." So
okay,
I can ask him again just to be sure, because it seems to me like it went from foundation, sill, to siding, roofing, and I'm not entirely clear that's the priority, but he seemed to think it was.
yeah,
Well,
okay.
usually start off with the foundation, right?
Yeah, and I just don't know. And the other piece of it is, my guess is even just to keep it standing, there's going to be sizable expenses we're going to incur on probably like an annual basis. And my question is do we have the funds for that to pay for that?
I had put some funding, I think about $10,000 a year going forward, and we will see if that remains after the budget process is done. But that's kind of what I had proposed, not starting next year, but the following year. I think it was like around $10,000 per year. Okay,
so if we were to do the roof on the work, let's say next summer, would there be a pot of money we could pay for that from?
Again, it depends on what happens during this budget season and what remains and what.
Yeah.
And there is always the stewardship fund. I mean, that's for, it's supposed to be for emergency use, but it is there if it was an emergency.
Well, it actually, it's not for emergency use. I think it's, there's a process that has to happen in order to get approval to use that money. I think the policy says that $10,000 should be left in the fund for emergency use, but there's $20,000 in the fund right now. So, so there is some money there.
So Kim, are you finished? I'm sorry, Jeff, are you done?
I think so. Then the other, and this is the part that's going to be hard, this discussion, and if there's a decision that needs to be made, is at what point do we kind of say, nope, that's a Catamount Family Outdoor Center use of the building related costs versus it's the town's cost of keeping the structure, standing, for lack of better words. And it would be I think it'd be just great if we had an understanding, kind of where those, it's probably not a fine line, but at least where that gray line, that, not so clear line is.
Maybe it would be more like, I guess what comes to mind for me is say they wanted to divide up the space down there further or build like a little wall or something so that they could, delineate space down there or, use a wall to hang more tools, or say they wanted to fix one of the doors that they're using because the door doesn't really work very well. I would say that expense would be something the outdoor center should be responsible for. But
Okay.
these sort of
Yeah.
larger structural issues that relate to the preservation of the structure over.
Yeah,
a long
and I would
period of
agree with that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Kim, does that sound about right to you?
That sounds right to me. You
Yeah.
mean, this year we had the electrical work this fall put back up when a tree came and knocked down the power line going to the barn. So we incurred that expense to
Yeah.
get power back to it. So yeah, I think Melinda is pretty spot on with that expectation.
Okay.
So do you, Kim, do you think there would be, if, you know, the group, the committee decided to do some more substantial renovations to it, to bring it, you know, to a better standard, would there be some maybe cost sharing with the Catamount Outdoor Family Center to, since it is a pretty important part of your operation?
I mean, I don't want to answer without that going through the board as well. I think it would be a discussion to be started. And to
Okay.
Melinda's point of having the discussion now of like, what is the vision for this barn going forward? Because maybe with everything going on, there isn't funding for another 5 years. Like, we really don't know. But if we can at least have that vision as far as like what COFC is going to do with it or would like to do with it versus what your goals are as well. So, you know, I'm happy to, you know, whether it's in one of these meetings or outside of them, like sit down and have a conversation and throw some ideas back and forth, and we can go with that. And hopefully that can help bring things full circle, guide ideas, and I don't know, start the conversation.
So I know that I just saw on your Facebook page that you got a new shelter for your groomer. And it's one of those plastic, you know, unit round things. And so, you know, if the barn wasn't there, you would have to build something. And I guess I would just hate to see like a series of those, you know, little plastic. Yeah, right. I didn't think you were gonna do that, but just a thought to the committees,
Yeah.
you know, to your board saying, you know, this is an important part of our operation. We store a lot of things in that, you know, so it might be worth, you know, putting some money towards some kind of renovations to keep it. I know Grady said it was a little scary in there.
It is.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we don't use the upstairs. It's a little scary. Yeah, I think that's a big discussion, you know, because is this, you know, a $20,000 project or is this a $200,000 project? I mean, that's $200,000 is certainly not an unreasonable amount that a project of that magnitude could run, and that's not something that we have. We don't have the budget to support renovations at that level. It's just, that's our annual operating budget. It's
Right.
gone.
And I
So
think
we would cease
Elliot,
to
yeah.
exist.
I
But
think
I
Elliot,
think,
oh, good.
yeah, no, the conversation I think is important to be started. And yeah, if the barn was deemed unsafe or unusable, yeah, we would have to figure out something else for our equipment, you know, whatever that may be. And there's certainly, you know, any sort of new structure has to go through a whole permitting process and all of that, and, you know, public comments and everything. So that's, again,
Okay.
it's all part of this conversation.
Great. Well, I think that's great to get that's what I was thinking, get it going, get your board talking about, and maybe Peter can come to one of the next meetings and we can continue the discussion. And, you know, like I said, you know, there is a possibility to, you know, I think Elliot's, the highest cost was $100,000. Is that correct, Melinda?
Well, that was like for
For
the
like,
overall cost of all the renovations that he listed was like 100,000.
that was like, and was that moving it as well and putting it on a new foundation? No, that was keeping it there.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like we needed to do that much, but
Yeah.
yeah, so, you know, it's a good place to start the conversation and,
Yeah.
but if you could start a conversation with your board and we can get an idea of what you guys are thinking, what your needs are going to be. Great.
Yeah, I will bring that up and yeah, let you know for sure where that goes.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
My concern with the barn is it very quickly could become quite a liability. Just when I read what he's pointing out, the foundation really isn't supporting the barn. There are beams that are directly in the soil. I just worry, the barn could go from being in the condition it's in now to a condition where it is deemed not repairable very quickly. And I just want us to make sure we're keeping an eye on that and doing what we can to prevent that from happening. And it may turn out that we have to go to the town and say, hey, either spend the money or realize the barn is probably gonna go.
I guess it can't go unless it just falls apart. I guess because it's historical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I
might-
mean, the risk managers may say, just put a fence around it and no one can go in and use it because it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
safe. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a typical kind of way that the bureaucracy will respond to something because you don't have the money. Whether it's $200,000 or not, you don't have the
Yeah.
money to fix it, but you can't let people use it because it's
Yeah.
just not safe.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
I
what
don't
Jeff's
know.
talking about.
And
My
I just
gut
want,
feelings.
I just want to make sure that if we get ourselves in a situation, it's because we want to be in that situation, not because we are in it, inadvertently or without, wishing we weren't.
Right.
I guess my gut feeling is I'd like to see some work done on it and that it can be a valuable piece,
Yeah.
structure on the land because of the Catamount Outdoor Family Center. So
It
that's where
sure-
it'd be nice
yeah.
to have cost sharing.
Yeah. And I think we all feel the same. It'd be a shame to lose it.
So. All right, great.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to kind of get that going and, we'll get more feedback from, the outdoor center and see where to go there. So I don't know what time it is. What time is it now?
25 past 6.
25. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we can move on to, and other folks, we'll continue the conversation. So we can move on to other business. And I guess that would be Kim. So do you have any updates?
Yeah, just a few relatively quick ones. The little free library is installed at the hub now,
Yeah.
so go there for books. Thank you to
Got
Steve
one.
and Debbie Page. So pretty cool to see the books already turning over, even though the trails are closed. So that's exciting. Grady had actually installed a couple of handicap parking signs at the hub that we picked up at Richmond Lumber. They unfortunately don't withstand the wind. It was those plastic ones, and the wind in that parking lot. One of them has succumbed to it, so
Yeah.
it's definitely going to need metal signs.
Kim, I ordered some metal signs and they're
Oh,
here, so
great.
we can put them up.
Great. Yeah, there's still one up there, but I found the other one on the other side of the parking lot the other day. So we tried. So that's great. Thanks, Melinda. Just to let you guys know, we're really excited this winter. We're launching a new program called Winter Wanderers, and it's for kids ages 8 to 11. One of the programs will be a weekly on a Wednesday afternoon. And this is a program to incorporate outdoor recreation through skiing and snowshoeing with learning about the ecology of the forest and the watershed by incorporating some of the snow school lessons. So we're working with some homeschool families to get that out into the community. So, and then that will also offer a week-long winter camp during the February vacation from 9 to 3 for that age group too. Because there's a lot of parents that are looking for things to do because they have to work when their kids are on vacation. So we'll have a camp that week. So pretty excited to get more winter stuff out there for the kids to be involved in. And as Danielle had asked earlier, yes, the trails are closed. We finally, we pushed it as far as we could. We finally got to the point where the melt freeze has been too much, and then melt an inch of rain. And so there's still standing water in a lot of places out there. And with this warm up that's expected over the next 10 days, it's just going to be a mess. Like this is probably worse than spring mud season, I would say. Like this damage, if there's usage on it now, that damage will not be able to be fixed all winter and be even worse in the spring. So this is super sensitive. Once the ground does refreeze, hopefully soon, and we get some snow, then we'll be able to groom. If we don't get snow and it refreezes, then we'll just be open for, snowshoes, ice cleats, whatever people need to be wearing out there, and fat bikes. So we're at the mercy of old man winter at this point, who's battling it out with the summer season still. But yeah, it's pretty sensitive. Unfortunately, there's people that just bypass that sign, trails closed, you can park here, use Governor Chittenden Road, and they're parking out by Woods Trace and walking right out on the trails, like total disregard. We've found some bike tracks out there, but most of it's foot traffic. It's just people assume that closed to all users means everyone but them. And that's really, really frustrating. If Terry, you've got the page, if there's any way that you guys can help reinforce that through your Facebook page too, just the importance of
and from Porch Forum might be good too.
Yeah, I can get something out there as well.
What about just putting another sign right on that gate, just saying, hey, this means you too. We're closed. This means you.
Walkers too.
We did get some signs made up, Melinda, to go on the buck and rail fence under the Velco heading down to the horse farm. So those will get installed soon. They look great. One side says, Catamount Community Forest boundary, private property beyond this point, do not enter. And then from the horse farm side up, it's got really nice icons of a pedestrian and a biker and a skier, yes, all open, and then there's a horse with a big red X through it. So it should be pretty clear that horses can't go beyond that point. So those will go up as well.
I did notice that the day I was there for the duck box assessment, somebody had been through with probably a large truck and rutted up the parking lot. And so there were deep tracks out there.
Yes, it was. That is happening almost nightly through the winter, especially when it gets slick. It's high schoolers, they'll show up with 2-3 cars, because I caught them on video camera. Of course, I can't see the license plate, and they're just blowing donuts out there.
Oh my God.
It is pretty bad. I don't know. It's a great parking lot for it, I guess. But yeah, I saw that too, Reed. It was a mess.
I mean, should we think about maybe chaining off the parking lot after dark or something? I don't know.
Take a lot of, maintenance. Just somebody's got to be there to open and close.
Yeah.
Or do you just close the parking lot? I mean, the trails aren't.
That's
the trails aren't open, permanently close it.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. For the time being.
They're going to come all winter long, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah, it would be tough, especially where people do use the trails after sunset. They come after work. Yeah. It would be tough to rope that off all the time. I do wonder, Melinda, this might be a question to you. If we do get into really damaging situations, could we close the parking lot? Trails are just too damaging, and there is too many people going beyond that.
Yeah,
I mean that would be my last resort for sure. But
you mean for now, with the trails closed?
Yeah, if it seems that there's more and more people disregarding that.
Yeah, close off the parking lot by all means.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess if it gets
I did a social post today that basically was there's a lot of blatant disregard for the trail status, and this is jeopardizing it for everyone. So
I mean, not to say that
we want to do, but
not to say that people wouldn't still park on the road, but at least it might discourage some people.
We did it for a short time. I don't remember if it was this time last year or last, mud season or what. And it was a couple days where it was really, really gnarly. And so we had a chain out there, and somebody actually stole the chain.
Oh no. God.
Yeah. It was one of those nice cables, and we had tape on it, reflector tape, so everyone could see it. If they pulled it, someone stole it. They pulled up the post. We actually found the hole where the post was, and the cable was gone.
Oh, geez.
But
Maybe, working on education, Front Porch Forum, Facebook, and maybe even the Observer.
What
might
about
be able
just,
to do.
wait, I mean, if it's that damaging and recurring daily, could we talk to the police department about when they're driving around at night, just to throw that into the route?
Yeah, their loop.
I guess we could ask. I know that they're
They're
short-staffed right now.
Mm.
But yeah, I could let Chief Foley know that this is happening.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. I know we
Yeah.
go birding at a cemetery and it's horrible. The kids are up there partying and, but it's, where they got have a place to go. But that's unfortunate. So,
Those kids.
okay, but I will post it on Front Porch. I'll post it on my Facebook page to let people know it's closed. So
sounds good. And I'll get something on Front Porch Forum as well to reach some more.
it's a good reminder, maybe just, weekly, as long as it's closed, just, just put it out there weekly and yeah. So anyway, so
Yeah.
folks are
And if
kind
we
of,
can, if you direct people through any posts, like to the map and conditions page, that's what I keep posting with it, because that's ultimately, just go there. You're going to know what conditions are. So that's the
Mhm.
Bible.
okay. Well,
Mm.
folks are
thank
having
you.
to start to leave. Do you have anything else to add? Nope, you're good. Okay. And the only thing was the invasives, I guess maybe tomorrow. They might do this cut stump treatment. So
Oh, tomorrow? Okay,
yeah, I think it got moved to tomorrow. So,
all right.
and so does anybody else have anything else? Okay, our next meeting, I think would be January 13th,
13th.
2022. So same time. All right.
Terry, I guess I have
So-
one quick thing. This is Danielle. Sorry to come in late. We talk about how the Catamount Community Forest is not town of Williston taxpayer. But I would like to figure out how to share that information in a sentence. If I could figure out a great way to share that information to people who say that they, when they feel like extreme ownership about the space because of their taxes, how to explain back what Catamount Community Forest is in a very short two
Yeah,
sentence.
short thing.
Sure.
Melinda, the whole
Yeah, well,
process. Yeah.
I mean, so mainly, this.
I don't know if you need to
the-
tell me, we could throw that on the agenda
Yeah.
for next month.
Sure, okay. Yeah,
Too,
yeah.
or something that I could memorize and be able to say to people.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Good, okay.
Sure. But there was you're right, there's a whole process that the purchase of Catamount went through and people don't understand that. And how it's funded now and how the whole thing works. So yeah, Melinda, if you could put something together, that'd be great.
really short.
Yeah.
Something that I really can.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
would be amazing, because we're challenged by those conversations on a regular basis of informing people. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right, so what time is it now? I don't have a watch. And I don't-
6:35.
Okay, 6:35, so I guess make a move to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Good. All right.
Second.
Well, second, excellent. We'll see you next time.
All right.
All right.
Everybody.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
night,
All right.
everyone.
Next
Thank
year.
you, bye-bye.
Next
Happy
year.
holidays. Yeah, see you next
Bye.
year.